Hello and welcome to LB Presents Unite on Purpose. We are all about creating a global movement, purpose-driven movement towards unity. I decided to start this show because I wanted to shift the world into a new era through the eyes of brands to create, as you can see on my wall, the face of modern business and the face of the modern world. It was always my belief that we were able to shift education, health, manufacturing, retail, finance, all different industries to make a positive change in the world. And so this show interviews some incredible industry leaders, business leaders, world leaders that are all about creating positivity and impacting change. And today I am interviewing Alison, who is a representation company specializing in marketing in the travel, tourism, and hospitality industry, and really known for leading global tourism into a new era, as I would describe it. Thank you, Alison, for coming on to my show today.
It's a pleasure, Lindsay. Pleased to be here.
And Alison, look, you've been around us, you've been on our L&D program, and I met you when I did a talk for the travel tourism industry. And I have to say, when I met you, you really blew me away with your knowledge and insight into the travel industry, travel tourism, hospitality industry. And you've been working in it for many years. So could you just give the viewers a bit of a background into how did you come to get into the industry and bringing us up to where we are today?
Wow. How long have you got?
I've got a whole 30 minutes.
Okay, I'll try and condense it then. How did I get into it? I got into it when I was 14 and supposedly 16, because that's the age you were supposed to be. And my friends were working in a local restaurant and they were earning more than I was in my newsagent. So being tall, I'm 5 foot, nearly 5'8", and have been that height since I was 14. I was able to pass off, much to my mother's disgust, as a 16-year-old. So I started working in restaurants from the age of 14. And I progressed from the local restaurant to Hampton Court Palace, where we did banquets for the royal family. I was a medieval wench 1 minute, and I was doing a wedding the next, cream tea, sleeping on the floor because we were doing breakfast the next day. And I just became passionate about, for whatever reason, passionate about the industry. And I went to France because I always wanted to speak French fluently, and I was pretty good, but I was determined to become bilingual. And while I was out there, I tried to get into different hotel schools, but my maths, because they did modern maths, and we don't do modern maths here, wasn't good enough. So came back to the UK and went and did a degree in hotel management and French at Oxford Brookes University, which was at the time Oxford Poly. And that kind of took me into the hotel industry side. Traditionally, you were supposed to go and do a training scheme with Trust House Forte or one of those big companies, but being a little upstart, I felt that I already had a degree and I didn't need to be retrained. So I trundled back to France, where I wanted to be anyway. And during my degree, I set up two things. I set up the first international exchange course between Oxford Brookes and FIU, Florida International University in Miami. And that's continuing today and all over the world. And then I also set up overseas, as a hotel management student, you had to do a short period of time, sort of certain amount of time in industry. And it was normally scattered over 3 years. But because I had to do a year in France, but I didn't want to go to university because I already spoke French, I thought, I'll just go and work in a hotel. So I got myself a job during my year out in the Alps, in a ski resort, in a hotel. And then I went back after my degree just to see some friends, some of the people doing that scheme that I'd set up. And the general manager said to me, "What are you doing now?" And I said, "Oh, I'm just kind of, this and that." I didn't like to say I'm selling Play-Doh in Harvey Nichols, and I'm a personal shopper for the royal family in Harvey Nichols, because that wouldn't have gone down very well. Because I was learning to sell. I wanted to learn to sell, so I went and did some selling things. He said, "Well, because I'm retiring soon, and they're trying to computerize me, and I can't do computers, and I don't want to do computers, and I've got 3 years, and I just want to have an easy life." And he was the vice president of Relais Chateau. The hotel was a Relais Chateau, and it was about to get its first time Michelin restaurant. So he asked me to be his number 2. And that was just, in the right place at the right time. And I had an amazing 3 years working for this hotel, pretty much running it on my own. And then the first incidents of being being a woman, being a disadvantage happened when he retired, and everyone assumed that I would just be taking over the management. And I was told I was too young and female by the owners. If it had been a day later, I could have sued them, but the law not against that in France came out the day after. So I thought, okay, and I brought in a conference with McDonnell Douglas, which was a very big, or the makers of McDonnell Douglas planes, and it was all the financial directors of all the airlines around the world. And they came to this conference, and I got to know them over 3 years. So I had my CV translated in every language that was there. And as they came in, Monsieur Giraud said his piece, and they said, so you're taking over? And I'd say, no, I'm not. And they said, oh, give me your CV. I said, here it is in your language. So in the end, I went to work for British Caledonian, and they had a contract in the Swiss Alps. And so I'm going now from back office, everything other than F&B, and end up running 6 restaurants and a nightclub.
Oh my gosh. So you went on a massive journey from the age of 14, working your way through. And I mean, that's hugely inspiring.
But all thanks to having the degree, though, because that really cut short quite a lot of the, I suppose, the experience and the knowledge. But Switzerland was great. And I transformed the 5 restaurants and a nightclub. They were really doing poorly. We just rebranded them all. So, they had an Italian restaurant, which is kind of like, oh. So we rebranded it, got a pizza oven. The nightclub I completely refurbished, and we got the equivalent of Capital Radio up there every Saturday evening from Geneva. In fact, a bit of a problem because I had the police to come up because we had too many people. But anyway, it just all worked really well. But then we lost the contract. And I wasn't actually contracted to the resort. I was contracted to BCAL at the time, CHM. And they asked me to come back to the UK and start working in head office. And at the same time, the local resort offered me a job in another resort, or the bank that owned that resort, in another ski resort, to go and do the same there. And I had to make a bold decision because I loved living outside the UK, in a French-speaking location. I loved the Alps and I loved what I was doing, but I knew that you couldn't do that. If I stayed, I'd still be there.
And you've been in this industry for such a long time. And if I fast forward to now, how have you seen the industry move from where you were then to where you are now? And what's been your kind of biggest challenge and actually biggest reward that you've done over that period of time?
So when I came back to CHM at the time, I was taken on into the marketing role. So again, a shift from what I was doing. So, but I had got marketing in my first degree, and we rebranded CHM to Copthorne Hotels because Caledonian Hotel Management meant nothing to anybody, and we had a real flagship hotel called Copthorne. And we opened about 7 hotels in a period of 2.5 years around the world. So I saw shifts in the UK market and the global market. But what did happen, and this is something that keeps following me, is when the management team decided they wanted to do a buyout, and they asked me to join. I said, oh, I'd like to be a vice president like the rest of you, 5 men. And they said, well, no, you can't be, because I said, why? Because you're too young and female again. And I thought, there's no glass ceiling there, it's concrete. And I'm determined to go out there and not only change the world of tourism and hospitality and how it's done, but also fight for the female cause in our industry. I don't think people have to do that quite so much nowadays, but at the time it was quite tough. And I always wanted to be the first general manager in London. But actually, I'd grown beyond that at that stage, and I wanted to do more. So I moved on. I set up my own business, and I called myself the president, which is ludicrous, really. But I just wanted to make a point. And setting up my own business, my first client was a destination, was New England, USA, which is again completely different from anything I'd done before. And I think the main difference I've seen in tourism is the role of women in tourism. Especially over the last 5 years in travel and tourism. It's still not where it should be, and Black Lives Matter makes it is even worse, actually. But we are still a minority in the leaders in the industry. But there was a group of 100 of the top women in travel and tourism and hospitality that was put sort of an award that was brought together about 5 years ago, and I was lucky enough to be in that, but it did also show that it's only 100 when there are so many people in the industry. So I have seen a good, positive move of the role of women in the industry. I've also seen a positive move of where people go to, and the footprint that they're leaving. You know, when I first started out, you didn't think about what you were doing to the environment and what difference it was making to the local people. You know, you just rock up and, you know, give some poor kid in a Gambian village a sweetie and not realize that they don't have dentists and what that sweetie is doing to that child. And now there's so many different associations and charities out there that are all trying to help with the recovering the footprint that we're making, and also so much education out there now about responsibility and sustainability. That's been a massive shift. You know, when people started putting towels in their baths, because I'm thinking, oh, they're making a real difference. I mean, that was a massive difference in the hospitality industry. And I think COVID is really showing people the differences you can make, even if it's been imposed on us. If it hadn't been imposed on us, I don't know what would have happened. So there are positives coming out of COVID and positives coming out of tourism development, although it's a terrible world to be in at the moment, and travel and tourism is suffering dramatically.
It's interesting because you mentioned about COVID, and obviously that was going to be the one conversation that I was definitely going to ask you around, because you are in the industry that I would say is one of the industries that has been affected the most. You know, the travel industry, the hospitality industry, the tourism, you know, how people have been so affected in this industry. And what do you think? You just said there's huge positives that have come out of it as well. Could you discuss with me around, you know, you are absolutely in that industry and have been in it a long time. What was the effect, and what has been the effect today? And what do you see as the future for the industry moving forward? And could you talk about that?
Yeah. So I run two organisations. One is primarily inbound and domestic tourism, the Tourism Society, and one is called the Association of National Tourist Office Representatives. And when I say I run them, we run their secretariat as a client, and I give a lot of my time to them. I was chairman of the Tourism Society for a while, and I've been on the board for 15 years, and so I keep giving my time. So what COVID did was me give more time, because I worried terribly that the associations were going to fold because members were going to lose interest or couldn't afford to stay, and the members were going to lose their jobs. So we jumped on virtual weekly seminars for both the week after offices closed down. And I've seen the whole evolution of what's happened during COVID. At first it was complete panic and disbelief, and then of course the government kicked in with a lot of financial packages, which some may say weren't enough, but you know, it did help an awful lot of people. But now, of course, we're coming back into reality where you can open 1 minute, you can have to close the next. The events industry is just absolutely dying on its feet, because they were all geared up to open on the 1st of October. And it's not for the wrong reasons. It's just the timing, the thought process behind it, and have them all geared up, spending, you know, money and time preparing themselves for a new industry to open up, albeit within the new norms and, you know, the distancing and everything else. Just to be told within, I think it was a week of starting, that wasn't going to happen. So there's been a lot of challenges with the timing of things. Now it's a disease; you can't blame anyone for that. But we've had to shift and jump and pivot and dance and do anything you can think about. The industry for the future. We've all been looking at different ways of doing things. I think there's going to be the retail side of it is suffering because of the shops. Yes, they're open now, but how many are closing? I mean, it's not just travel tourism. You look at your high streets, and
look at the high street, exactly.
Yeah. And I think the virtual environment, we're sitting here having a chat. I've now just opened my virtual offices on our website, so you can just come along and knock on one of our doors, and depending who you want to talk to, it's Tourism Society and or Representation Plus, just knock and come in if we're there. If not, you know, send us a message. It's a whole new era around virtual, which also makes our industry concerned, and they have to rethink how they can how they can show people their destinations, how they can encourage people to travel. And we're also thinking about sustainability. So instead of taking your 3 one-week holidays across a year, and therefore probably maybe driving around the UK for one, taking a short haul plane for the other, and maybe a 2-week holiday on a long haul plane, combine all those in one holiday and just take one plane journey there and back, and then take trains and whatever you walk or whatever you can do wherever you're going. And it's that environmental issue that's really being drummed into the industry at the moment, that we cannot go back in the way that we were. We were aiming to be we expect to be the second, if not largest, growing industry in the world because of the numbers game and because everyone's traveling and free time and everything. We probably will be still eventually, but it's going to take 3 to 4 years to rebuild. And we're all thinking we have to build back better. You know, look after the environment, give back to the local people, provide jobs. Try not to do it in the same way as before. Try and do it in a better way and a more fulfilling way for everybody.
Interestingly, I'm going to also talk about you, Alison. And we've talked a lot about the industry, and I know you have been on the L&D program with us, and I met you early on, and you've been a huge support as well of Bob. And when we came together and we all united on purpose, which I will come to in a moment. But I also know that you pivoted hugely with your own business going through the process, and you were very agile. And you managed to look at what you were doing with your own business and how to pivot it. And I'd love you to share what you did with your own business, never mind with the industry, because you've been very innovative with your thinking around how you were going back out to market.
Yeah, well, I mean, 50%, well, 2/3 of my business walked out the door the day after our offices closed down. Primarily all the traditional PR type contracts. I've been focused only on the UK, not only on the travel, tourism, hospitality industry, which is at one stage was never ending and vast, but today is minute. So yeah, I had to rethink everything, and I have to say, thank God you or Faye sent me the email, because I've been talking to Faye and about taking your school to Sri Lanka, which means everybody. But I just thought the Sri Lankans are very business orientated and innovative, and then I wanted to go to Oman, so and then suddenly this all happens, and I get this invitation to your seminars, and they have got me up twice a week, now 4 times a week, but never mind, earlier than I intended. But they started off getting me up twice a week and given me 1 hour, because with this whole new series, I wasn't traveling to work, so I didn't have me time in the car. I was working at my desk for 14 hours because we had to furlough staff, so someone has to do the work. And it was just like all about, it was quite intense. And that 1 hour where I could just forget everything else and concentrate on what you or Darren or what Tim or Sarah was saying was really, really inspiring. And that's made me think all the time. And so first of all, and I have to say, my son, who just finished his master's at Imperial College, where I really teach in entrepreneurship, economics, finance, and got a first. But yeah, it was a good distinction. He was kind of on my shoulder saying, Mum, you've got to do something about your business. You've got to do something. So suddenly we thought about virtual events, because I tried to do some virtual events and the platforms weren't working for my clients. My clients are always lower end budget. They're not, I don't go for the Las Vegas or the New York. I have the Miami or the Washington, DC. I don't go for Dubai. I work from Oman. It's that kind of different type of product, the more me product. So we looked at each other, we decided, right, well, there's no platform out there that suits us or our clients, so we'll build one. So here we are. And, I'm not exactly the most technical person in the world, but I know what I want, and I work on the basis that technology always can deliver. So last week we launched our easy virtual events platform.
Absolutely.
And, I'm glad to say it worked brilliantly. We had 150 media on it. The toughest customers probably, they didn't actually know it was my platform until they gave me compliments. And I said, actually, this is what I've been doing during COVID. And 17 destinations. And it's a combination of auditorium, meeting rooms, stands, and a BYO cafe where you can just network. I'm really proud of the team that put it together. We've got half a team in India, as you usually do if you've got a tech product, and half the team here. And I'm just really proud of what everyone's delivered so far. And now the next stage will be working towards growth enablers. And that's going to be, well, first of all, then we opened our virtual offices as a result of the program. So that's enabling our clients to have an office where they know someone can knock on the door and there is someone there. We're working towards growth enablers, which is to have somebody in every city in the world that knows the industry locally very, very well, from the minister down to local hotels. And then so that stops us as an agency having to go to our client's destination, stops us having to travel because we can do it virtually. It means that we don't have cultural differences, we don't have language differences. We can help the local team develop the skills that they need to do what they want to do, rather than just do it for them. Yeah. And so the growth enabler will get to know the local market. They will find out what they want, and they'll then say to us, well, we need someone in China, so our growth enabler in China will do the work for them, and vice versa. It's a dream at the moment. This is my dream.
I love it, Alison. You have pivoted so well. Wow. And that is, it's hugely inspiring to hear that you've actually, from scratch, got your own platform live. You've had, your 150 people on the platform, all from very influential areas. And you actually did it in an industry that actually probably got hit the worst. And so I'm going to just come on to, you have been on the L&D program and you have united on purpose. And I often at this point say to people, I would like to know, what is it that you're known for, Alison? What is it that you united on purpose with? What is your purpose, and how would you like to express that?
So I guess I know I'm known for representation, leadership, and I guess delivering a high quality of work. So that's kind of my background. But I've always wanted to make a difference. I've worked for charities like Family Holidays Association. I've helped try and eradicate poverty in Africa. I've worked to try and against sex slavery in Africa. I'm always trying to find a way of making a difference to the world, and even during COVID, tried my best to help the clients and people that I know. So I really want to be known. Well, I'd love to be known. I don't want to be. It would be lovely.
You are known.
It'd be lovely to be known for making a difference, and therefore my purpose is shifting tourism. Shifting tourism for tomorrow's adventures, but every aspect of tourism. So it could just be a small bar, or it could be a destination. It doesn't matter, what people are, how they're involved in it. That's what I'd like to be known for. And what was the other question?
So before we move on to that, shifting tourism for tomorrow's adventures. I'm just going to express that to the viewers, just so they heard exactly what you said. First off, I think that is an incredible purpose to have. The second thing then is I go, okay, shifting tourism for tomorrow's adventures. Now I want to know, tell me about tomorrow's adventures. What does that mean in your mind? Tell me about, because you've got me now, and I'd love to know what that means for you.
Well, we are in difficult times, but I think everyone's really fed up with hearing about recovery and restructuring and resetting and everything else. And I think people have just got to want to look forward to something new and different. And the industry is going to be completely different and completely. There is a new norm, and the new norm will be different as well. So the tourism industry is actually proving that it can shift itself, it can move, it can pivot, it can adapt, which if you'd asked me a year ago if that was possible, I would probably have said not as quickly as it's happened. So the industry can do it, and the adventures are really just taking the opportunities and making the work for the different entities within the industry. So, staycation, for instance, staycation was an obvious. A lot of people didn't want to travel abroad, and therefore they did want to stay at home, and they tried to find the right places to stay. That was a great way of moving the industry forward. And we did a lot of work on staycation with the Tourism Society. But then I went to Greece. I got on a plane to Greece because I felt we've got to support our industry, and that's the travel side of the industry. So I got on my plane to Greece, spent my week in Kefalonia, in an Airbnb, but most of the hotels were closed anyway, and the Airbnbs are still local economy and are still eating in local restaurants. So that's and all this every aspect. So you've got the Airbnb market, and you've got new native and all different types of businesses coming up for that living in in other people's properties and sharing different experiences, and the whole experiential aspect of tourism is going to be massive. The wellness aspect of tourism is going to, people suddenly realize during COVID that they should look after themselves more and care about what they're doing when they're on holiday. So lots of different things coming out of COVID that are positive, I think, for both the consumer and the industry.
And I've got one last thing to say before we wrap up and we run out of time. We did unite on purpose, and hang on a moment, because in my bag, I met Boris today. And Boris said to me that, I said to him, I'm going to meet Alison Cryer. And he said, oh, she's very well known in the travel tourism industry. And I said, well, I know that. And he said to me, well, when you see Alison, do give her the keys to the whole of the UK, but only for one day. And so he's asked me to pass them on to you. Hang on. I'm just going to pass you my bag, my Unite on Purpose bag. Just going to pass you the bag. Hang on, there you go. Right, you got it?
Yep, got it. There we go.
Oh, you've got it. Great, good.
Get the keys.
Right. In that bag, Alison, are the keys to the whole. Well, he said you can just have them for the UK, or you can have them for the world if you like. But he needs them back tomorrow, and he wants to know, what would you like to do if you had it just for today? What would you like to do?
In any other circumstances, the answer would be different, but we have to get a vaccine.
Oh, wow.
There's no choice. We have to get a vaccine. We have to get a vaccine. There are so many companies out there trying their hardest, and we have to get a vaccine or a pill like malaria tablets. We have to find a way of being able to manage this on a long-term basis. And then obviously finding more testing and tracing opportunities to make it work so that we can get COVID under control. And that would be it. Just get COVID under control and move on with the rest of our lives. And then I can start shifting tourism for the new adventures. But we've got to get over this stage. And if I have one day and it's tomorrow, that's all I can do.
Thank you very much. And thank you so much for coming on today. And I also want to say thank you very much, because when we did the Unite on Purpose campaign and we had over 150 businesses join us in the morning at the same time, Alison was a big part of our team to be able to enable everybody to campaign together. And you were a huge help and advocate of everything that we were doing. So I want to say thank you so much.
Thank you to you, Lindsay. It was great fun and thoroughly enjoyed it. And I'm enjoying every minute of my course.
Oh, and Andrew Russell's just come on. Well done with the platform, Alison Cryer. Excited to know more about how virtual events and experiences can support the industry. Shifting tourism for tomorrow's adventure. Love it. Thank you. So do I. And I have to say, I feel hugely humbled by all the people that are in the Bob community, because there are incredible people like Alison, like Andrew, who just popped up with a message. And these people are truly uniting on purpose to shift an industry. So thank you so much for joining me today. And for the LB Presents people, my people that are watching this show, remember that if you would like to unite on your industry, unite on health, unite on manufacturing, unite on retail, unite on finance, unite on any of the industries, then come and find us on Bob Earth, the first purpose-led platform that connects businesses all around the world to trade with each other. And shh, it's a quiet revolution. Build your brand, grow your business, impact an industry, and shift the world. And if you like watching these LB Presents, then remember, then you need to subscribe to the YouTube channel and share it, like it, do whatever you need to do with the YouTube to be able to pay it forward and let people know that we are shifting the world into a new era and creating the face of modern business. I'll see you next week, bright and breezy. We're always interviewing different people around the world, from Australia, Canada, Singapore, the UK. See you then.